of, what do they call it, ADC. So I don't know what his platform will be. I'll be happy if he joins PDP because he will bring his credibility to bear on the party as we are reorganizing. I mean, he's not a name you want to introduce in Nigerian politics. Any party that has him today, we know that they have already made more than 30–40% of the election because he has tremendous support across this country.
Okay, Mr. Ulasi, I'm happy you're talking about Peter Obi. I remember we had a bet the last time, and empirically I'll prove to you, sir, that I won that bet. I put it to you, I won that bet. You said, this was your words, not mine. That showed me a video.
Not the opinion of those who watched us.
No, hang on a minute. Wait, let me finish. Mr. Ulasi.
You know what people said?
I'm a man of facts.
Okay,
let me land.
Go on.
Your words, not mine.
Okay,
you will resign from the PDP if I can show you videos of you criticizing Peter Obi in the past. In fact, I have too many videos of you criticizing. In fact, not only me, Ose Aneni, Chief Aneni's son, also brought out some videos of you criticizing Peter Obi in the past. If you want, maybe you can send your number to your producer to me. Please. Through our producer to me, and I will forward you those videos. But wait, I've not even landed on my question.
Yeah, information, please. Yes. Information in all communication. Once I say information, you give me a few seconds.
Yes, please.
When we had that discussion, I told you that I criticized Peter Obi on one serious occasion when he left PDP and went to Labour Party. I did mention it, and you forgot to say that. I mentioned it in our discussion.
Mr. Ulasi, the videos of our conversation are there. People will watch and judge. But let me move on to my real question. Anyway, I have a lot of... Let me move on to my real question. You are now saying that this is same Peter Obi that you are saying that if he runs today, he has 30–40% of the country. Correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe you said it just now. Maybe I didn't hear well. Maybe I have to remove anything in my ear. You said it just now, right?
That's what I just said, yes.
But I want to read a newspaper caption to you. Where you said, where you warned the Igbo people leading up to the last election, that voting for Peter Obi in 2023, you said during Akaka that he has no strong political base and will fail woefully in his presidential bid. He said Peter Obi will succeed in securing the Igbo bloc vote from traders. He said this vote will not be enough to make Obi president, and he could set the Igbo voters up for attack for opposition. But the word I want you to underline there is that he will fail woefully. So how come a man that you said will fail woefully, but that got over 6 million votes, that won Lagos, which is not only an Igbo voting area, and won some other parts of this country, is now the one you are saying that if he joins the PDP. And which PDP do you want him to join? This PEM PDP you people claim is finished, that Wike rules now. And you are saying you want to... It's not a political suicide. Don't you people just want to destroy him politically by luring him to the PDP? That's my question for you, sir.
Well, this is not a question. It's a lecture you have just delivered.
Yes, it's a question. Don't you people want to kill him politically by saying he should come?
Excuse me. You see, you're becoming violent also in your speech. Why don't you ask a question, you make a clarification, you allow me to make a comment. This is exactly what you did in the last interview. Your views must always prevail. I have a reason as the person you're questioning to give my views. And my views might not always be correct. That's why I'm a human person. What I said in that interview you're making reference to is that Igbo votes alone will not make Peter be president. And I would not have to make a presentation as if an Igbo man running for president. He's running for president from an Igbo extraction. That was the explanation I was trying to make in that interview. And anybody who comes out to run for presidency of this country does not come out telling us I'm a Yoruba man, I'm an Igbo man, I'm a Fulani man, calling for his people's vote. That will come in situ. So that is the explanation in that interview you are making reference to. So if the paper you are quoting did not represent what I said properly, it's unfortunate. I don't know which paper you are quoting. But all I have said is that in the past, we were with Peter Obi in PDP. And he ran as our vice presidential candidate. We attended a meeting with him in Oka, where he told our people that he was going to run for presidency. And not long after that, he left us without consultation and joined the Labour Party. People were bound to be annoyed. That's what I was saying in my interview. And that involved criticism. that you must be able to have some principles of relating to those you are working with. About 3-4 weeks ago, he was in my house in Enugu, and we were discussing the same thing. I said, in all things you do, give proper information and communication to those you are discussing with. Don't take anybody for granted, because people have laid a lot of, sacrifices, a lot of resources down in this journey. Rufai, that was what I was saying exactly. And in such doing, you have to criticize. Politics is about criticism, even if it's your brother or your mother running. But it doesn't have to be, maligning somebody's character.
Ulasi,
no.
My question to
you have to point out what shortcomings somebody has, especially if it's not working with you anymore.
Very good. My question to you is,
yes.
Aren't you people leading Peter Obi to a slaughter slab by calling him to come and join a PDP that Wike has pretty much taken over and prevails over? That's my question to you. Aren't you people deliberately leading him to a slaughter slab?
Well, yes, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. You see, when you make a statement that Wike has taken over PDP, he hasn't taken me over. He's my friend. I have serious disagreements with him when we don't agree. Even in the national executive meeting we attend, we had 2 national executive meetings in the past 2 months. There are a lot of people who don't support him. And he knows that. There are a lot of people, the national chairman doesn't support him. He might be friendly with some of us, but the national chairman hasn't left his seat as national chairman of PDP to go running after Wike. Wike wants to be in control, but I had told him, you cannot be working for an APC government and try to tell us what we do in PDP. One will have courage to tell a friend that one. It does not stop him from doing what he wants to do. And until we have a convention, what we're having in November is what we call mini convention. There will be no election. There will be no offices sought for, so that we don't create any problems before our major convention next year to bring out a presidential candidate. It is only when next year comes, because Wike had already said that he will support Tinubu in 2027. He will remember the futility of that statement when the convention comes next year, and we want to bring out a candidate and he interferes.
Chief,
then you will see that what I'm telling you exactly is correct.
Chief Ulasi, I asked you,
yes,
you are now focusing on Wike. Now, the PDP had a 119 member committee led by Governor Fintiri of Adamawa State, where the decision was taken to zone those positions. And there was a report indicating that, okay, so positions have been zoned this way. The bone of contention from the Wike group is that they are saying that the next chairman, substantive chairman of the party, should come from the North Central, and that there should be no micro-zoning. Whereas other leaders of the party say, no, there's nothing wrong with micro-zoning for us to have peace within the party. Where do you stand?
Well, I said, I thought I mentioned something like that when I started commenting initially, that in the next meeting we had, we said, if we have a contestable convention this November, the time is so short, it will bring a lot of, animosity within us. So we just do a normal midterm convention without running for any office until next year. So between now and next year is a long period of time. Like the party has zoned presidency to the south, it is likely, most likely, that next year the chairmanship of the party will come from the north. Which part of the north the party will also decide. These are not constitutional matters of Nigerian constitution, but these are the discussions we have to bring some kind of understanding within the party. There's nowhere in the Nigerian constitution that is specifically mentioned about zoning, but it talks about national representation, national interest, which means that every part of this country should be given an opportunity to be part of the system. That is what it means.
Since zoning is presidential ticket to the south, many have said that the main opposition, People's Democratic Party, PDP, appears to be gradually finding its footing after years of internal conflicts, which have seen its members defect to other political parties. On Thursday, Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang said the party's worst fears have dissipated for good and expressed optimism about the party's future. Joining us on this show to discuss PDP's prospects of rebuilding ahead of 2027 is Chief Dan Ulasi, a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. He also analyzed the impact of the private sector on Nigeria's economy and finally appraised the return of rivers to civilian rule. Good morning, Chief Dan Ulasi, and thank you for joining us. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
I said good morning
Okay.
to you and your colleagues.
Yes, good morning. Good to have you. Well, let's start with Rivers because it's also PDP. The party now is back. The governor is back, even if they still say it's not been located yet. It's still an unidentifiable flying object, but hopefully in good time it will show up now that normalcy has returned in that state. As a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, how do you feel about that? And then second, this whole point about PDP, back to good stead and all of that. Well, there's the big issue of the November convention, which particularly your good friend, Minister Wike, is saying that if his directives are not followed, that there will be trouble. And that in fact, people thinking of President Jonathan coming back as flag bearer of the party, they may be preparing the battleground for serious crisis within the PDP. But let's start from Rivers, and then we'll move to the party itself.
Well, I have personal reasons to be grateful to God that the situation in Rivers State is eventually, coming to a very peaceful resolution, which I thought in the first place, I told you that there was no reason for this to have happened in the first place. Because I had always said that we don't operate democracy in this country. What we operate is, civil rule. Tell me how many people in this country, since you got matured politically, that have come out of their own desire, with their own financial support, and started either as councillors or chairmen of local government or members of state houses of assembly, or national assembly or governor or president. There's always some tendency for you to cling on the apron string of some people. And that is the danger of the style of democracy we are holding here, because you don't have an independent opinion. But what happens in this country is that people continue licking the boost of other, or whom they call their godfathers, and as soon as they see power and money, they say to hell with you. And this is what causes crisis in most of the time. Because a typical Nigerian man regards everything he does as business. And they put millions and millions of naira, sometimes dollars, into this business of governance. And that is why nothing works. Because you get into office, instead of helping to develop your environment, you continue sharing or paying back to those who have made you to get into where you are. And once you look and see that not enough is left for you to really do some job, you still remaining. That's why nothing is going on. Go through, 6 months ago, I went through about 17 states in this country. And Dr. Abati, it's a pity for you to watch a governor going to work. A governor leave government house to attend a function in the same city. And there will be about 40 vehicles in a convoy following him. Do you know the amount of money that is spent in that kind of movement? And they don't care. Nobody's interested. So our problem is so fundamental that it requires some reassessment of values, if we have any. People come from rural areas. I haven't seen the son of any big man, either Awolowo or Zeke or Bara or Ahmadu Bello, that is governor. So incidentally, it means that the children of very poor people from very poor environment somehow manage to be members of houses of assembly, national assembly, governors. Why is it that when they enter office, they hate their people so much that they can't even provide water, ordinary water? How do you look at that kind of situation? So sometimes you want to give up, and I don't think that giving up solves the problem, So when I was in PRP, 1979, I was a national advisor to Malam Aminu Kanu. I was just as vibrant as Rufai, my friend, is. But somebody called me to say that Nigeria is not a function of statistics. That was why Zeke said in 1974 that ethnicity should become, a national instrument, an instrument for national unity, if people will accept that. Because if I recognize that you're from Edo, I'm from Anambra, you're from Sokoto, I will understand the differences of your people, and we put these differences together to understand each other and use it for national development. But once we use ethnicity as a basis of divide and rule, opportunism, then nothing works. So that's what I would say, that PDP is part of a Nigerian system, and all persons who come there want to have an advantage for their people's, gain. And in doing that, we forget that authority rests on regimented formality. That if you combine political ignorance with unresolved, unresolved grievances, then they have political blindness. Right. We have to have an understanding that we are one people, difficult to, but we have to try to do that.
Okay.
That, I have known you, Dr. Abati, for how long now? You called me on telephone when you were working with Goodluck Jonathan. We didn't know ourselves. From then we become friends because we have an understanding. And each time I came to see Jonathan, and I asked him, why do you always invite me? He said he invited me because I have the courage to tell him the truth. Okay. In this country, nobody wants to listen to the truth. Sometimes they think you are doing some mago-mago when you tell people the truth. You tell people what they want to hear, and still they continue collapsing. That is where we are today. I hope my colleagues in political offices, as governors or whatever they are, should start to remember the Nigerian people. We have no other hope but ourselves to help us.
All right, thank you so very much, sir. I believe, Dr. Abati's second question around Rivers, I would love for you to answer that question. But beyond that, my question would then be, based on your statements that you tell the truth, can you tell the truth this morning around the chances of the PDP at the next election, and who could potentially be a viable candidate for the party to compete favorably with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as incumbent?
Well, I'll answer that question, my sister, by telling you that only God will answer that your question, to say whether PDP will have make the presidency in 2027. Only God knows who will be alive tomorrow morning. And I normally make that statement. I then take assumptions that are beyond my control. We have hope or desires to want to do something if God wills. So if PDP survives, as we are trying to do, in the last national executive meeting we had, almost 7 of our governors were there, and it was refreshing that everybody is now talking how to, discussing how to reorganize the party, put it in a stronger footing for 2027 and other subsequent elections that are coming.
Okay.
So I don't know who the candidate will be, but the party has zoned the presidency to the south.
South, yes.
And if there is honesty, like you said,
yes.
And hold on, if there is honesty, they should micro-zone it to southeast, because virtually now we are the only zone, theoretically speaking, that have not had a presidency.
That's a very important
since this dispensation, and maybe northeast too.
Okay, that's a very important point. That means that from your truth, Southeast ought to get the ticket. It means you've eliminated President Goodluck Jonathan as a potential candidate for the PDP, if you were to suggest. And maybe perhaps Peter Obi, who has been touted as maybe coming back to the PDP, might be a candidate for you. Or we hope, of course, and believe with the will of God that we are alive tomorrow, based on what you said.
Well, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria gives everybody the right to contest. The Constitution did not talk about, even though they talked about national representation, making sure that every part of the country is represented, involved in what's happening. But something like leadership, running for a public office, you don't force anybody. Sometimes you zone it, and you might not, every zone, I believe, have some capable people to run the affairs of state, either at the state level or national. But when you force people to want to do something, you might not produce the best results. So first and foremost is that there must be desire. There must be willingness, for a people to want to make a contribution before we then said, oh, other people will come to support them if they find they have a viable candidate to do. So in terms of the presidency for 2027, I believe Peter Obi so far has no platform, to the best of my knowledge. He ran last time with Labour Party. He's attended the luncheon.
This is one of the reasons why Nigerians are determined that Tinubu shouldn't come back to Aso Rock. Guess what? There is this article that is making the rounds on the social media. The federal government is claiming that they've shared 330 billion naira to about 8 million households. They've transferred money to 800 million households, spending 330 billion naira. Nigerians are wondering when it happened. Who are the beneficiaries? This was exactly what we saw in the era of Buhari, when they were giving people money, handing people cash, as in there's no accountability. Tinubu really said he was coming to continue from where Buhari stopped, and that is exactly what we are seeing. Now, it's so worrisome. The headline here, somebody tweeted and said, over 800 million households selected from the poorest of the poor across the country have benefited from the Renewed Hope conditional cash transfer program coming from the Tinubu's government. Renewed Hope. When they borrow money, they use political agenda. This country is really gone, honestly. They use political agenda. They go and borrow money and they use it for their campaign. This is for Renewed Hope agenda. Should Tinubu not be using his own money to campaign if he feels he's coming back for second term? You know, it's really, really so sad, honestly. It's really, really so sad. Anyway, I'm going to take some of the reactions from Nigerians. You know, some people are saying if you have received that you should it kind of indicate, because we don't know when this money was shared. We didn't hear people talk about it, and they can just tell APC members now to come out and say they received when they didn't receive. Now, this place is a very funny country. For students loan, they have not disbursed 30 billion in 2 years, but for cash transfer, they can't. But for cash transfer that can't be verified, they've disbursed 330 billion in 24 hours. This is really, 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 really so sad. The way Tinubu is leading this country. This person say your evidence that, okay, you evidence that money was distributed to poor people, people on Facebook. Okay, this person is asking if it's people on Facebook they actually gave the money to. Another person, they examine your conscience. Did your family benefit from the 8 million household, or does any household you know benefited from this 8 million household? And then this person, the real poor people are not on X. Go and verify. And this is the poorest of the poor on Twitter. What characteristics classifies one as poor? Low, evident, chop. But now for graphics design, where they see them on a body. And this person said, how can I register? Another person say, come here before you cloud chasers with FOI. Anyway, people are just here abusing themselves, but I don't even think this is what we need at the moment. The federal government is saying that they've distributed how much? 330 billion naira given to Nigerians. Okay, this person said this was recorded at Agege Local Government Center at distribution exercise. The safety net cash transfer is real. Okay, this person recorded where they were transferring the money. And this person say, is this your evidence, young man? Why do we only have Igbo fictitious names claiming to be beneficiaries? Why is Kafaya, Fumilayo, Abubakar? Okay, where is Yoruba names? This person say, okay, they are using Igbo names. You know, they are using Igbo names. This person say, please ask these pen robbers in presence. Please ask these pen robbers, that's people that use pen to rob, in the present APC government today, how do they arrive at knowing the poorest of the poor in the country? Those they could assume poor, like those farmers in our village, are even more financially stable than many wearing ties on Lagos Street. And this person said, I got my last month as well. Nothing like a scam. Meanwhile, those that don't have an account was opened for them, an ATM card was given to withdraw their cash. Some of them don't have access to social media like my community elderly people. Can you imagine? The Tinubu's government embarked on this project. So the announcement should be people who actually receive this money should indicate, because as it stands now, this is pure scam in a country that is struggling to survive. The federal government is saying they've shared this amount of money. They've distributed 330 billion naira to 800 million households, and we don't know where those people are. Anyway, guys, it's left for Nigerians to decide whether this is what they want to continue with in the next election. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification. Thank you.